Hi, Paul Blackburn here from the Mental Toolbox with another hint, tip or idea extracted from the Mental Toolbox for your benefit. Subject for today is procrastination. Funnily enough, people want us to get to the subject of procrastination really quickly, even though the subject itself means that we would leave it until last. So here's a question. If I said to you, procrastination suddenly became an Olympic sport, how would you go? What we find is that most people in most crowds, that's a majority of people, say that they reckon they'd be a medal contender, and in fact they'd be a good shot at gold. So why is it that procrastination is such a big deal for so many people? Now, as I've said to you before, quite often that subject shows up with a different face. Quite often we get asked, how do I keep myself motivated? What do I do to keep myself going? Because the pace of life, pretty much extracts its toll. So there are two answers to the subject of procrastination, and the first one is the most obvious the first one is the most expansive and the deep core reason. Second one is kind of more superficial. So let's go to the deeper one first. What happens for most of us is that the reason we don't do the thing that we know that we need to do. In other words, we're talking about a subject where you know that it's in your best interest to get on with it, and you still can't make yourself do it. The reality is, for most of us, what's going on is that we're facing the fear of failure. And, it's a pretty simple concept when we first reveal it. Really what it boils down to is that, you can't fail if you don't start. All of this is done in our subconscious. We've had years of practice at it, so we don't hear those thoughts in our head. We just hear ourselves saying to ourselves, why is it that I can't do what I want to do? I need to get on with this. It's going to save me time, it's going to save me money. Why can't I make myself do it? The reality is, if you don't start a project, then you can't finish it. And if you can't finish it, then you can't be measured. And if you can't be measured, you can't be found wanting. For most of us, failure is personal. Therefore, it's a deep-running issue. It goes right to the core of our existence, because many of us make the mistake of judging ourselves based on our successes and our failures. Now, that's not such a hard thing to do or hard thing to understand. Our culture emphasises that idea. It grabs the people who are successful and puts them up high, and people who fail are nobodies, and we do that to ourselves more than the culture does it to us, of course. Quite often we are our own worst critic. But the thing for you to understand is, okay, so that's why I'm avoiding it. That's the deep down core issue that I can't hear in words in my head. What is the superficial surface thing that I've got to get past? What you'll need to do is look at some pretty straightforward, simple methods that will get you into action. The first thing is to make yourself accountable, and that's simply to tell somebody that you trust to be a bit of an ass kicker with you what it is that you want to do, by when, and commit to it, and let them know. Change with them or exchange with them the idea that they might tell you something that they are committing to do, and hold yourselves accountable. For most of us, being held accountable gets us going. I'm fond of telling the story at the Mental Toolbox about our daughter who could swim 2 kilometres of butterfly non-stop. And of course the obvious thing is, was she able to do that from day one? No, she had to get to the pool. So she ended up at the Institute of Sport, training with the squad there. I had to get out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning to take her to be at the pool by 6 o'clock in the morning. Big question for you. Do you reckon I'm the kind of guy who would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to the gym? Short answer is, maybe you don't know, I'll tell you, no. However, I wouldn't let her down. And what that meant was that I could get up at 5 o'clock because I was doing it for her, get her to the pool by 6, go to the gym myself, come back, pick her up, we'd have breakfast together, I'd drop her at school. Great relationship builder, fantastic thing to do, and interesting enough, on the mornings when I did not want to get up, it was being accountable to her that got me there. After she stopped swimming, I talked about that, and or her and I had a chat, and she said, Dad, often I didn't want to go, but because you'd got up, I went. So I was being accountable to her, she was being accountable to me, and of course what we both learnt in the process is we didn't need each other. We just need each other for practice to make ourselves accountable to ourselves. The big deal here is that when you make yourself accountable to yourself, you become a person who develops self-respect and self-esteem, and then your results go through the roof. So, give it a go, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.